It's really hot. It's a review of the weather, not the project today, although, I mean, come on. Yeah, today's project, it's not one of those that I will look at and scoff and be like, there's so much terrible and so much wrong with this project. In fact, I appreciate that this is a project that has been entirely made by human beings. You know, it's been written by a human, all the artwork is done by humans, human hand, and the concept is most certainly something that a human came up with. But the biggest pitfall, as is quite frequently the case, is going to be copyright infringement. Yahoo! And it doesn't take that much to look through this project to see what the copyright infringement is. I mean, it's called Mystery Incorporated. Enter the Scooby-verse, and this is the thumbnail image that I will definitely have to censor a little bit. I'll figure out how I'm gonna be doing that. I'll probably do something really funny and clever about it. But yeah, this is just before anything else. You look at this project and you see it's got its only $1,000 goal, so it's not like aiming for the sky here, but it actually has a bunch of stretch goals which lead up to how much? Yeah, lead up to $60,000. And in a world where this project succeeds enough to have $60,000 flow in and all that, I will obviously look through the rest of the project in a bit, but it is just like the elephant in the room immediately. You're making Scooby-Doo porn. You're making Scooby-Doo a horny Cthulhu porn game, and hoping for the best. But Scooby-Doo is a trademark, it's a copyright of Warner Bros., you know, Warner Bros., right? And Warner Bros., because they have to, every time it needs to specify that it's Warner Bros. And not Warner Music Group, which is another company that likes to sue a bunch of people, but Warner Bros. Is currently suing a small, like, town community for building a statue of a leg lamp. And I'm gonna say, I have no idea what the leg lamp is in reference to. Apparently it's some kind of prop that was used somewhere. I don't know. But it's something that apparently they've copyrighted. The copyrighted the leg lamp. And this is a thing that is done by supposedly the person that invented the leg lamp prop. They built that statue. Or they built it in honor of this person. They're not charging any admission for it. Someone somewhere is like selling some souvenirs, but generally speaking, it's just a statue. It just exists there. It is a positive representation of something that is, you know, Warner Bros. Related, and they're suing them over a statue of a leg. This project, I will reiterate, is Scooby-Doo porn. This is a project which takes one of Warner Bros.' most iconic, beloved, and famous characters and does porn. Now, obviously, there is the defense of, well, it's parody. You know, obviously, if it's parody, you can get away with quite a lot. I don't know how much they're gonna get away with there. They're certainly gonna get on some possibly unfortunate attention. I mean, it's not just the characters, character designs, character names, storylines, the name, multiple names, the Mystery Machine, Mystery Incorporated, the fact that they have the, you know, little Mystery Machine right there with the name of it in the font that you know, the official show and production uses. I mean, I would be very happy to see that this project goes places without being sued. And I also understand the thought process of, well, after they let that Welma show fly, clearly Warner Bros. Will just give their rights to Scooby-Doo to anybody. And you know what? That may and well be true. Probably only really works if you ask first. That said, again, it might be protected under parody. That's completely fine. But it's not like this project doesn't have its faults elsewhere. First off, whenever I see $1,000 or $500 or whatever, like an extremely low funding goal, there's always the thought of, well, why is this on Kickstarter in the first place? Like, this kind of just feels like, you know, gauging how many people would be interested in buying the game, and you're making the game anyway. It sort of does seem the same way I mentioned, like, years and years ago? No, like, last year. No, 2 years ago? Whenever the hell I was doing the first season of this series, where we looked at a project called Love Potion, and the company behind it that just regularly, consistently, by the way, I'm not stroking myself, there's a cat here, consistently made these terrible Kickstarter projects one after the other, where they just use this platform as a means to advertise their games already being basically released on Steam. You know, that's I'm not saying that's what's happening here, but like it's just a very low funding goal, and I don't know. It's a weird pitfall to have, obviously, that if you make a funding goal too high, I'm gonna scoff at it like, yeah, right, you're gonna get $500,000, and then you set it too low, and I'm like, yeah, right, like, you need those $1,000. They very well might. But what I consider, like, the biggest problem with the project altogether is that it's been written by a human being, but bits all over the place. Like, it feels like I'm expected to understand way more references to Scooby-Doo than I would expect myself to know. It's hard to say what is an actual reference to official Scooby-Doo media, and what is like, here's my OC, Blood Scoob, the hedge dog. Still reeling from the loss of their friends and families, Fred, Velma, Daphne, Shaggy, and Scooby find themselves thrown into a world where the evil entity was never sealed below Crystal Cove. Their friends and families were never devoured, and they never reformed Mystery Incorporated. In fact, this new dimension seems to be mystery-free, and then there's 3 question marks. Holy, that's very perplexed. You know, and also down here it says, evil doesn't die easy. And obviously it's like, it's very, ooh, this is what an adult cartoon is like, coded with like, oh, it's not just sexy, it's like, what if it was also dark and gritty, and I can only imagine there's gonna be a bunch of, like, woozy pop, like, F words after every single sentence. That's just, like, my prejudice, though. It feels like a bit much when you are making Scooby-Doo porn. And it's also obviously a bit of nostalgia baiting. Here you have, there's a characters section, and it literally says bonus characters, and then it's just Angel Dynamite. Characters plural, bonus characters plural, Angel Dynamite, and then it goes to gameplay. Okay, sure. And then in the stretch goals also they do a little bit of nostalgia baiting, like unlocking bonus chapters, the return of the Hex Girls, and I mean, obviously, if you're gonna make Scooby-Doo porn, I mean, why would you not put the Hex Girls in there? I mean, you know, I do respect some aspects here, like, listen, this is not, by no means a necessity. You do not need to put this in your Kickstarter project at all. This is already in the terms and conditions. You don't need to do any of this. But they put a section called refunds, where they're like, once funds have been collected by Kickstarter, there are no cancellations and or refunds. Please always pledge responsibly. You know, if the average Kickstarter backer could read, they would be very grateful for you reminding them. The risks and challenges, again, the fact that they don't include this risk of, oh, maybe Warner Bros. Is not going to be a big fan of this thing that we're doing here, and they might have to, at the very least, change some parts of the designs, like change the names or change the like type fonts, typefaces, or whatever. I don't know. I'm not a copyright lawyer. I'm just a guy on the internet in a sweaty tank top. All content is brought to you by a one-man army. I'm committed to delivering the best experience to you, the backers, and I will address every question personally and timely. If you question or any problems during the fulfillment of this project, don't hesitate to notify me so I can address any issues. That is not a risks and challenges section. That is not what this is for. That section is designed for you to acknowledge problems you can already expect and how you might counter them and what issues you might run into. This says, I don't see any problems in my future at all, which is not a good sign if you're a backer. That's gonna do it for today's video. I mostly just wanted to talk about Scooby-Doo porn and also the weird leg thing. I do hope that this project, goes through and doesn't end up, sued to oblivion for some reason. I do hope the parody law holds up. It's just that, I don't know, I feel like putting it on Kickstarter, asking for money, bringing up, all these very canon things and copyrighted things. It's a needless risk, is how I would put it. But that doesn't mean that I don't think this game should exist or this project shouldn't exist, but maybe not in this current form and yeah. But this is one of those projects where if you want to go and back it, as always, the link is in the description, and I'm not going to be like, oh, you shouldn't be doing that. At least a fucking human being worked on it. That's going to do it for today's video, and I'll see you in the next one. Right. Psst. Where I shag the dog. Can y'all stop using grok? It's literally poisoning a black community in Tennessee. And someone else responds with @grok, name every product for sale on Amazon. And this was posted to r/people who give a shit, which is honestly like a terrible subreddit at this point. It's just people posting any